$5,212.
What do you mean a shortage of $5,212?
Okay, so this video is pretty much going viral because people are talking about the scam of America. And while I do not disagree with you guys, I do think that sometimes you just have to learn how to play the game so that you can figure out a way to win too. All right, so I'm going to explain to you what's happening. People are asking, like, what's escrow? How did this happen? What does this mean? And I'm going to break it down. We're going to use small numbers so that we can focus on really the concept and not so much the numbers. So everyone who's paying a mortgage is paying for four things, okay? We're going to talk about those four things in this video. PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That's what every mortgage is comprised of, okay? Sometimes it's more, depend if you have a special situation, but those are the four things that are inside of a mortgage. Let's say that you find a house that costs $10 and you only have $1. You're going to go to your lender and you're going to say, hey, Mr. Lender, I have $1 and I'd really like to buy this $10 house. Your lender is then going to say, okay, that's perfectly fine. Give me your $1 and I will give you $9. We're not getting into equity right now, but just while we're on it, to help you understand, that $1 that you put in of your money is your equity. That's what equity means. How much equity do you have in the property? How much have you put into it that you don't own? Okay. You put the $1 in, they give you $9 back, and you can go and buy this $10 home. Basically, what's going to happen is the $9 becomes your principal. That's what you're working to pay back. They gave you $9. They want their $9 back over a certain period of time. So let's say they give you 10 years to pay back their $9. Every payment you make each month could be like 25 cents. 25 cents going toward principal. The next part of the payment is interest. So if you have a 1% interest rate, you're going to do 1% multiplied by the principal, the $9 that you borrowed from the lender, and then you're going to divide that by 12 to find out how much you owe every single month. Okay, so I lend you $9. I want my money back plus some because I'm giving you a lot of time to repay me. That's your principal of $9 and your interest of 1%. These are hypothetical. And now you have taxes and insurance, okay? So the principal and interest are going directly back to your lender for what they lent you. The reason that the taxes and insurance come into play is because if you have a delinquency on your taxes or insurance, that actually supersedes a mortgage. Now, me as your lender, I don't want anything to supersede what you owe me because I want my money back. So what I'm going to do to protect myself is I'm just going to collect the taxes and insurance from you at the same time I collect your principal and interest. And then I'll just pay it for you at the end of the year. So that's what's happening. Your lender is saying, okay, we gave you $9. You're going to pay 25 cents toward the $9 each month plus the interest. And we're also going to charge you for your annual taxes and insurance, which we'll put into an escrow account. And that money will sit in the escrow account. And then at the end of the year, we'll take the money that you paid toward taxes and insurance, and we will pay your taxes and insurance for you to make sure that we are in good standing to get our money back. It makes sense, okay? So it's simpler than it really seems sometimes. Now, here's where some of the confusion comes in with what you owe. When you purchase a home, you're going to receive a disclosure. And on that disclosure, they're going to have like a soft estimate. And that's the number they're really going to highlight for you. For example, they're going to tell you, we see your property and insurance being about $2. When in reality, below that, there's a more accurate number that might say $7. We see your total being $7, right? If you're only paying the $2 based on that soft estimate they gave you, at the end of the year, you will have a gap of $5 per month that you will have to pay at the end. So the best thing to do is get educated and ask questions. That's always the best thing to do. Do your research, get educated, ask the right questions, and ask a lot of them. This is literally the job of your lender and your real estate agent, to help you understand the process, because we do not expect you as a home buyer to become an expert. We are the expert on your behalf. So when you're going into the disclosure, you want to find out, okay, what is the most accurate number? What is the closest number that we can get to what I'm actually going to owe? And the reason that this number is not set in stone and they don't just know what it is because property taxes fluctuate. They're based on a number of things, but it can be based on who gets voted into office, what laws pass, what community resources are built. If you get a park nearby, that can affect your property taxes. So there's really no way for them to know until the end of the year, which is the reason why sometimes you're underpaying, you're paying less than you should be, or you're overpaying and you end up getting a return because you were paying more and then the assessment came back lower that year. Now, if you have A new construction property. This is a good example because in 2020, it was just land. So they came out and assessed it and they said property taxes, $1. In 2021, they came back out, it was just land. And they said, okay, property taxes, $1.10. And then in 2022, your home gets built, you move into the home, and now there's a house on that land. So when they come out to assess the land in 2022, they're now saying, okay, property taxes, $7. Right? It's not easily predictable because if you bought the home in February, that property isn't going to be assessed until the end of the year. And so that's where that gap comes in. There's two things I recommend doing: asking the right questions, making sure that you get, you can find out if you're allowed to overpay into that escrow account to make sure that there's a substantial amount of money in there and then a smaller difference or no difference at the end of the year. The other thing I would do, regardless of their answer to the first question, is I would create your own account. I would put money aside every month for yourself just as a cushion so that you know that if there is a gap between what you've been paying and what you actually owe, you already have reserves settled for that. Okay, so that's what's happening there. If you don't have a new construction property, I highly recommend reaching out to anybody who's a licensed real estate professional or your actual real estate agent and asking them, can we take a look at the history of property taxes for this home? We have the ability to see as far back into time what the property taxes have been. So it might be a good idea to use the historical reference and say, okay, in this year, it was $100, and this year it was $110, and then it went down to $90, and then it went to $95, and you can kind of see that range that it's playing around in, and then look at how much the property's changing and kind of get a good idea of what you can expect at the end of your year. This is something that real estate agents have access to, and this is the reason that you have your real estate professional working with you, so they can educate you and protect you from ending up in situations like this. Okay, so again, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Principal is what I loaned you and what I would like back in return. Interest is the interest on what I loaned you because I'm giving you time to repay it. And the taxes and insurance are what I'm collecting from you to ensure that that gets paid so that the delinquency doesn't supersede you having to repay me, your lender. Okay? So I think that makes good sense. It's really just about asking the right questions, guys. Home ownership can lead you to so much financial prosperity. So please don't be scared out of it. There are people who literally built and maintain their wealth off of property ownership. It is a game that can be played. You just have to learn the rules and the strategy that works for you. And there is one, and I'm here to help. So I hope that clears it up. PITI, PITI, is the real estate acronym to help you understand what actually goes into a mortgage. If this sparks any new realizations, epiphanies, thoughts, concerns, questions, go ahead and drop them below, and I'm so happy to help. But again, don't be discouraged. Every game has a few tricks. Just learn how to play.